It's pudding. Okay. But more than that, I found out the inspiration for the slime, and it's because of something you just mentioned. In the early days of Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., they would play old episodes of You Can't Do That on television.
Starring Alanis Morissette.
And they would, of course, when you said, I don't know on that show, You Can't Do That on television, you get slimed. And so Nickelodeon stole that from them. But they said that. We said, we stole it from them. We stole it from that old show from Canada. How great is that? Think of all the people that were on You Can't Do That on television. Alanis Morissette, Jamie Noodles McLennan was on it for a while.
That's right.
Jamie joins us now as our podcast guest this week. Do you remember that show, Noodles?
What show?
You Can't Do That on television.
I do remember that. And you know what? Crazy enough, just about an hour ago, before I came on the show, I got caught down a rabbit hole on YouTube watching Hee Haw. I don't know if you remember that show, Hee Haw.
I didn't watch a ton of Hee Haw growing up. Wow, did you, how many hours were spent just diving into that?
Probably about 90 minutes that I'll never get back in my lifetime.
But wait, that
ever.
was a massive hit. That was a hit show.
That's the thing, you start to think about shows that were kind of wholesome and back in the day, and I don't know why my 3-year-old son was looking for some live music or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna put some Hee Haw on. It was literally Buck Owens, and it was crazy, but he actually enjoyed it. To be honest, he enjoyed it. Before he went to sleep, I was had my phone on and Hee Haw was playing. So,
I love that you thought of
something new.
You thought of live music and you thought of Hee Haw.
You wanted something wholesome.
But Tommy Hunter, you could have dialed up Tommy Hunter.
I don't know. Honest to God, so you're right. I could go anywhere. I could go to country or something, but the thing is he's caught on YouTube right now, and his favorite song is this song called Deathbed, which is he knows the words to it, and I don't know if it's a bad song or a good song because I don't know it, but he's I want Deathbed, which doesn't sound really good for a 3-year-old to be listening to. So I just pivoted right to Hee Haw. I'm you're getting Hee Haw, kid. That's all you got.
What about some Nickelback?
I could do that, but I mean, as you guys know, Chad, the lead singer, he throws a few shady lyrics in there left and right. So, I mean, we don't want him repeating those lyrics either.
Yeah, true.
What do you remember, guys? Do you remember a show called Circle Square?
Oh, of course, yeah. It was a Christian, a kid show.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was on a ranch, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I had a buddy, my best friend actually. His mom wanted to. He wasn't getting out. He wasn't making friends. So his mom wanted to send him to a camp one summer. But I don't think she did the research, and so she just sent him to the Circle Square Ranch camp, and he learned to ride horses. But he wasn't a religious person, so immediately, 2 days in, he was like, this is not the place for me. I've got to get out of here.
Was he there when they were filming?
No, I don't think they were filming at the time. But it was a legitimate ranch where you could go for summer camp, right? And
Wow.
Rude awakening for him. Rude awakening. Jamie, you didn't get to go.
That would be.
That would be disturbing. Jamie, you didn't get to go on your annual trip to Italy this year. That's a bummer.
I did not. I know. You know what? Just obviously with the way the world is, I've been bunker style at my house, and then what we did was we flew out of Hamilton, of all places, because the airport's quieter, a direct flight to Calgary, and drove to Kelowna for a week. So rented a house out there, and as you guys know, I love out west. I'm from out there, so we had an opportunity to visit a couple friends, a recent Hall of Fame guy.
Oh, yeah.
A guy like Jerome McGinley is his name.
He's a big Kelowna guy.
I wouldn't say Hall of Fame guy. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but yeah, so Iggy was out there and a couple guys, and it was nice to get a good visit in. And then came back, got COVID tests, and buried myself again for another 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it's been.
So when did you, because I just got back from Kelowna, when did you go to Kelowna?
Right at the end of June.
Okay.
So, it was early July. And the crazy part about it is that long weekend is when like 68 cases of COVID like popped up from all the people that went to Kelowna and partied.
Yes.
But we didn't do that. So
Well,
we were
Jamie,
lucky.
you know who all the local Kelowna folks were blaming? The Albertans. They were all saying it's all the Albertans.
Yeah.
Like my folks have lived in Kelowna for 25 years, but before that they lived in Alberta for 25 years. You'd swear they'd never lived in Alberta, and you'd swear they never knew anyone from Alberta, because as soon as they see an Alberta license plate in Kelowna, they're like, those Albertans, get them out of here. They're ruining the town.
I heard it was crazy. I heard in BC that if you had an Alberta plate, like people were like keying your car and throwing stones at it and stuff. That was early on in COVID, but then eventually they kind of opened it back up and welcomed Albertans in. So I was lucky. I mean, we flew in and just kind of did our thing. We only ate out like once. Outside of that, we just cooked at the place and hung out with friends. We were still a little bit kind of freaked about what was going on. So,
Can you guys will be able to answer this because you're both there. Is Kelowna the tattoo sleeve capital of Canada?
It's certainly in the conversation, eh, Noodles?
yeah, I would say yes. I would say Kelowna and Keswick, Ontario. Those are probably
The K's.
yeah, the two Ks in Canada. Honestly, it would be the capital for out west for sure, because you get some gritty characters there and people that in muscle shirts, and then here, if it's not Keswick, maybe it's Oshawa or something like that. I don't know. As you guys know, the guy who works on our board, Mark Mullen, he's from the Schwa. So, and I think he has a sleeve. So there you go.
Well, Noodles, Tulsi lived in the Schwa forever. He repped the Schwa for a long time. It's shocking that he isn't fully tatted up. I just learned he wanted to be a chef instead of a broadcaster. So he would for sure have been sleeved up if he was a chef, right?
Oh, for sure. If you were a chef, when you think about it, if we've all taken different career paths, like I often wonder, what I would look like and how I would be in society, everything like that. I could see you with long hair, a mullet, and maybe, for sure, like a left arm sleeve.
Yeah.
Left arm, not right arm, left arm sleeve. Yeah, like one arm, not both.
Yeah.
So, Noodles, what was your career choice if you
Yeah.
didn't make it in hockey? And you can't pick broadcasting because that's what you're doing now.
No, I know. You know what was weird is I was really into numbers when I was younger, so like accounting. It's boring, but it's weird. Like I always enjoyed accounting, and because I wanted to go away to junior hockey at a younger age, I took my high school online. So I would go through, I went through grade 10, and then that summer I took correspondence of grade 11 courses. So I finished my high school in just over 2 years. And I went through accounting and then even a first year university, I took some accounting courses. I've always been fascinated kind of with numbers, but I wouldn't say that I'm amazing at it. Like I don't, have a finance degree or anything like that. But I for some reason, I feel like I chose the right path on a couple different fronts, because I don't know many accounting guys who have kind of like to live their lives kind of like me, if that makes sense. So I
But
think
you
I
do
was
know,
lucky to.
it's a good way if you don't want to talk about yourself or get out of a conversation and someone asks you what you do. You say you're an accountant. No one does a follow-up question about that.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You're just like,
Nobody would ever. Yeah, you could be the most private person in the world because nobody would want a follow-up question if you say you're an accountant. That's it. You're done.
But a caveat to that, Noodles, is that if you're at a party and Wesley Snipes is there and he's hundreds of millions of dollars in debt to the IRS, and you say you're an accountant, then you're locked in with Snipes for a couple of hours trying to talk him through it, trying to get him out of debt, right?
That's true. Maybe Mike Tyson too. Didn't Tyson burn through 300 million?
Adrian Peterson.
I remember reading I remember reading an article in USA Today one time about Tyson had made in his career 300 million, and they broke down how he spent it. and like he bought like Don King like 5 Bentleys, and he had all these houses, and he had a group, like a posse that traveled with him. And one guy's job, he got paid $60,000 a year to be in charge of beverages anywhere they went. That was his job, beverages.
Beverage guy.
Yeah.
Beverage guy.
I'll take $60K.
Yeah.
I'll take $60K for beverage guy.
What
Well,
about
Drake-
what about
Drake-
Snoop Dogg's weed rolling
And
buddy?
Drake has one too. They
Yeah.
have guys that roll their joints for them.
I call them back patters. Like all they do is just they follow around the guy and just pat him on the back and be like, "Hey, this is my buddy. I'm with him. I'm with that." And you're right. Listen, if I was a big shot like Drake or Snoop Dogg or all of these guys, I'm sure I would have all my buddies with me too, having some fun.
Because we make fun of it, but at the end of the day, if you get that big, that young, suddenly you don't know who to trust. And in the end, you kind of can only trust your ne'er-do-well high school buddies, and suddenly paying one of them $60K to roll a few blunts for you every day doesn't seem like such a
Those
bad
are the
deal.
last guys I'd trust that I know. I would not want them near my money at all.
You're right. I would feel like I would bring all my idiot buddies with me, but I would make sure that I would have at least 1 or 2 people that like gave me the honest truth. Like would look me in the eyes and be like, "You're being an idiot. You're wasting money. You don't need to do this." Like almost like a conscience. I don't know if it's like a father figure or an agent or somebody who would have the ability to sit you down and be like, "All right, enough's enough. You've been on, a 7-day bender here in Vegas, smarten up," or something like that.
Noodles, how would you have been in the bubble? You're such a crazy movie guy. They set up like 8 theaters. I feel like you would have probably thrived in there.
I feel like, it's funny because even staff, like people who know me, like they're like, "You're not affected by this at all," because I'm a routine orientated guy. So I get up, I work out, I do exactly the same thing every day. So I would find a routine in the bubble. You're right, like movies, if they were available, everyone else would be on the golf simulator, playing ping pong, doing that. I'd be in the movie theater. And if they had fresh popcorn, obviously I'd be eating that every day. So it's, I feel like I would thrive in the bubble setting. Plus apparently, they had some pretty cool bars, and apparently, it's almost like a meet and greet. The who's who of the NHL are at the lobby bar every night, so it's kind of like a social hour, happy hour. That's what I heard.
Noodles, have you talked to anyone that's still in the bubble, and have they slowly gone insane?
I've talked to a couple of my very good friends were in the bubble and were eliminated, but one of them was like, "I've had like 60 COVID tests," and his test was every day at like 1:30 p.m. So he could go earlier, but that was when his team was set. And he's like, it is Groundhog Day. He goes, "I am slowly like struggling," but he said, "We know they're there for a purpose." I have one buddy who's still in the bubble. I spoke with him a couple days ago, and he was fine. I think there was a threshold about 3 weeks into a month where guys you were going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And guys were starting to struggle, and you saw those teams, they're out of the bubble, they're gone now. And now the guys that are in the bubble, they're committed. They're pot committed because now they're 8 wins away from winning a Stanley Cup. So they're like, we know what's at stake now.
What's your opinion of the hockey that's being played in the bubble? Just my personal opinion, Jamie, I think the hockey's been better than ever. Maybe they're just focused.
You know what? I've been so impressed. And I know people are critical of some of these 1-0, like last night was a 1-0 game. You're going to see that, especially, the Islanders the other day played their 16th game. So, you're going to see a few duds here or there. But honestly, the intensity, even the product, you're no fans, you're looking for atmosphere. I think it's been fantastic hockey. And I know, we don't have a Canadian representative team, which pisses some people off. I'm fine with it. I don't have a favorite team. I'm happy for guys that are still in there battling. And I think there are some cool storylines, but you kind of got to dig for them. Like the Islanders aren't the sexiest of teams, But if you dig into the storyline of that group, it's pretty impressive considering, I think a lot of people thought the Islanders were left for dead when Tavares left.
Yeah.
Instead, they've kind of thrived in what they've won four playoff rounds since Tavares left. Like, it's pretty impressive. But overall, I think the hockey's been fantastic. It's been great theater, and honestly, for us, lots to talk about every day.
And when it first started, the refs were taking a lot of heat, and that seems to have gone away. People said, oh, they're making more calls because they don't have to deal with an arena full of people booing, but no one's talking about that anymore.
Well, you're right, but also, too, I think the refs were trying to figure out, how they want to call things. It's almost like when I was looking at the play-in round, and the games were a bit sloppy, and guys' decisions making as players were sloppy too. And
yeah.
I kept thinking, okay, the refs were a bit sloppy in their calls and maybe a little bit inconsistent, and guys were trying to find like that middle ground, that groove. Now that we're into the third round, like you can see that the refs are in a groove, and the top refs are the ones that are reffing. So I think they're doing a great job. But
Well,
you're right.
what you just said,
they're not being swayed by.
Yeah, they're not being swayed. And
ahead.
plus, the hockey's gotten better. So, yeah, the calls have gone down. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tulsi, they're not like the fans aren't yelling at them. They're not swayed home or away. They're just making calls and being consistent with them.
Yeah.
How about Joe? Speaking of a different sport, Joe West, the umpire, thrown out the GM of the Washington Nationals yesterday for heckling him from like the third deck. Joe West, grow a pair.
I know.
Toughen up a little bit.
Apparently he's such a hero. I mean, you're right. Like you're throwing out the general manager, who is like literally a Muppet in the third row, yelling at you, and like just you're right. Grow a pair. Like have thicker skin, but there must be a long history there.
Yeah.
And I know Joe West is a guy that he's polarizing. He's not shy to get into it. But I mean, I thought that was a bit egregious. Like we were talking about it, and I was tracking the story, and I'm like, this is just insane for an umpire to be that thin-skinned, especially in a sport where people are going to be in your grill constantly. I thought it was kind of a heroic move by him.
Well, they're all thin-skinned, Jamie, and it's like bouncers, right? It comes from being granted this power to throw people out, right? When you are granted that power, then I feel like you have this heightened sensitivity about yourself, and one little thing, someone looks at you the wrong way, says something as a bouncer. That's why they're that way, right? Because they're just like, no, anyone does anything, I've got the power to get rid of them instantly, and I'm going to use that power. And that's how umpires seem to be. You'd think they'd be the opposite. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, they are. No, I was going to say they are. And believe me, bouncers, I've had a few run-ins. I got thrown down the stairs at Club Malibu South Side years ago in Edmonton. I'll never forget it.
Yes, Club Malibu.
We were just talking about that Club Malibu. That was the original Club Malibu, Jamie, and
just off of White Avenue.
That's right.
It was so
right by the
gritty.
Strathcona Hotel, just right by the Scona Hotel.
Yes.
And I remember the thing about that Club Malibu is every Thursday they would throw Frisbees in the crowd, and if you caught a Frisbee, you got a keg party the next Thursday. And they would throw like 15 Frisbees up. And I was like 6'6". Every time I would be like, Frisbees! Keg party next week. What a place.
What I would do to be back at Club Malibu 30 years from I guess when I was 19 instead of 49.
Oh,
it's crazy.
Man. Dr. Vickers.
No COVID back then. No one knew what a pandemic was.
Exactly.
Jamie, we're going to take it back to hockey, and we're going to put producer Tim on alert here because we're going to do a little hybrid thing here. We're going to introduce Jamie's television segment that we love to have him on for the Jay and Dan show. It's called Tasteful Nudes. Tasteful Nudes. So we're going to bring that graphic in, and we're going to begin this segment. We're going to ask you some questions about goaltending in the National Hockey League.
Sure.
That's right.
Tim, you ready to go? Okay, let's do it. Here we go. Let's kick off Tasteful Nudes with our friend Jamie McLennan. Tulsi, you have the first question.
Yeah, Noodles. Who At the start of next year is the starting goalie for the Vancouver Canucks. Thatcher Demko or
Markstrom.
Jacob Markstrom.
If you're asking me, it should be Jacob Markstrom. This guy has been your MVP for 2 years in a row. He's helped carry that team, get it to the next level. And I know Thatcher Demko was fantastic those last 3 games. And to me, he is a budding star in the National Hockey League. But Jacob Markstrom has arrived as an elite goaltender. He's 29 years old. He's a pending unrestricted free agent. I think you can get something done and still figure out the expansion situation. So if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I don't want to lose a guy like Jacob Markstrom, where you've made so much ground moving forward as a team and an organization. You don't want to take a step back if Thatcher Demko ends up stubbing his toe learning how to be a starter in the National Hockey League.
Jamie, boy, Matt Murray, you have to be a pretty inconsistent goaltender to be 26 years old, having won 2 Stanley Cups, and your team wants to essentially get rid of you because they know you're probably going to lose you to Seattle in an expansion draft at some point. So if Matt Murray is indeed on the move, and it appears that he probably is, which of these 3 Canadian teams that seem to need goaltending help would be the best fit? The Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames, or the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, interesting. For me, it would have to be the Edmonton Oilers. And the reason being is you've got Koskinen at $4.5 million for another year. So you already have somebody that can give you, let's say, 30 to 45 games. I think Matt Murray is a platoon goaltender. I don't see him as a standalone starter. So, he's a guy that played very well when Marc-Andre Fleury was there. He's played well or been challenged by Tristan Jarry and given them good minutes when he's been pressed. So he has to play in a platoon system. I think the Edmonton Oilers are obviously going to try and fit somebody in there. Absence of Mike Smith is unrestricted. I think the best fit for Matt Murray, if he's on the move, would be the Edmonton Oilers, because they need to upgrade that position. They needed a save at critical times against the Chicago Blackhawks, and believe me, that was only one of their problems, but they did need a big save at the right time, and I think Matt Murray is battle-tested, but he still needs to prove that he can be consistent, and he's young enough to do that.
And then our final question, we might add one more, but we're going to ask this one. If Freddie Anderson, it's amazing, because if you would have gone back a year ago, Jamie, you would have said to yourself, well, the Leafs seem pretty solid in net. That's not something they have to worry about. But after the postseason that Freddie had, people seem to want to shove him out the door. Where does he play at the beginning of next season?
I know this isn't a sexy answer, but I think it's going to be in Toronto. And when you have to take a look at it, if you're Kyle Dubas, you have to take a look at the big picture. Who are you going to replace Frederik Andersen with, and what is it going to cost? Jacob Markstrom is the #1 unrestricted free agent on the market. Now, if Vancouver signs him, he's done. Robin Lehner, same scenario. I would argue that he's probably going to be with the Vegas Golden Knights. So now you start to look around the league. Who's available and at what price point? And let's say a guy like Braden Holtby is available and you can get him at a decent price point. Are you convinced that he's going to play better than Frederik Andersen, because he hasn't statistically in the last couple of years? So what I know, if I'm Kyle Dubas, is I've got a guy who can play 55 to 60 games, money in the bank. Yes, he hasn't gotten over that threshold, and that's something that certainly is a focus here in Toronto. But it's not all on him. That team has to be better. I think Kyle will try and build the team a little bit out, a little bit more depth, and to help his goaltender out. So for me, I'm only doing something with Frederik Andersen if it's an upgrade in that position, not an equal part, like an equal goaltender. So I don't see an upgrade in that position unless Jacob Markstrom is signed here.
And next season starts on?
January 15th.
Oh, okay. We keep pushing it back a little bit.
I think it's realistically in the new year, because the league wants to get to a point where, maybe we've got some form of answers for COVID, or at least a routine. Obviously, you'll be tracking the NFL. The NFL is outdoor stadiums, but you need fans back in the seats. Right now, the bubble has been fantastic for the league, but that's, you're trying to claw back some of the money that was owed and you're paying to sponsors. The next season, you're trying to make money. And you need to make money by having people in the seats. So I think the NHL has the luxury of time. They've proven that they can play through the summer and still have a lot of people very interested in hockey. So you can start, for me, it's starting in January 15th.
Okay.
Noodles, you and O-Dog and Brian Hayes are so great on Overdrive on TSN 1050 every afternoon. You're so funny. You have such great chemistry. And the guys were talking, Hayes and O-Dog were talking about golfing together and running into Duthie and David Amber and Sean Mckenzie, who often golf together. And you were describing them as a bit of a tight shirt brigade. And that's the kind of thing that makes me so happy, because I can instantly, I just feel such a kinship with you, because that's exactly what I think when I think of those guys in their Instagram posts, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, just let's break it down. James Duthie is it the Masters? He's always got the tightest golf shirt on, and he's holding the microphone and he's done curls before he's done, because his left arm is jacked and his right arm looks like a piece of spaghetti hanging out, so he angles it towards the camera. It's almost like a Joe Rogan, like UFC, the way he talks. So then that's Duthie. So he's got the tight shirt on. David Amber's in the best shape out of all of them. He doesn't need a tight shirt. I just think he could wear one because he can pull one off, because he's in such great shape. He's a physical specimen. Sean Mckenzie's the sneaky one, because if you track his Instagram,
he had a
he's
shirtless
really good.
pic.
Like I know. Did you see that? Like no tarp on. Like just my shirt happened to fall off here. Let's take a look at these abs. Like he's not doing that if he looks like a bag of insulation. Like he's doing that because he's in great shape. So all three of these guys, and you go a step further with Sean. He's got the tight suits on, and they're fashionable. I don't have that. I don't have the fashion sense. I put my suits on and I talk into the camera and I enjoy myself. But like these guys are a statement. So the three of them are just walking around. It's almost like a night at the Roxbury, those three, and just enjoying themselves. And so that's why right away I was like, tight shirt, the tight shirt.
Oh yeah, and that they make sure that they coordinate, who's wearing what color, right? Because they can't show up in three burgundy ones.
And I want to hear the drink orders from the cart. Some coconut waters and some water. That's it.
No, see, you're right. I think Amber would pull a beer, because I think he just, I've had beers with him. He's a cool guy. Mckenzie, it's either like, I can't remember the drink. Is it where you've got the giant ice cube, and it's like a hard liquor?
Oh, it's like an old-fashioned or a Manhattan or something.
That's what Mackenzie's got, like an old-fashioned, because with the tight shirt, he may have like a smoking jacket hanging in his golf cart. Like, to me, that's what I think Mckenzie would pull off. And Duthie has, like, I don't know, he's got like a cooler, like a cranberry cocktail cooler.
Rockaberry
like if he's
cooler.
going to have something. Yeah, like a Mike's Hard Lemonade, but it's like,
No, he's got Jamie. He's got full-on White Claws going on. He's all White Claws.
Hey, White
he's
Claws.
crushing White Claws.
Hey, don't disparage the White Claws.
I'm not disparaging them, but they're the
taste.
Rockaberry cooler of this generation, right?
Yes, they are. They're delicious.
You know what? I'm not a big cooler guy in that. The only thing I've ever dabbled with is I'm a vodka guy, and I switched from. I used to drink vodka soda or vodka 7. Now I drink vodka ginger ale with a touch of lime juice.
Vodka ginger ale.
It's almost. It gives me like almost a feel of a Moscow Mule. It's like a poor man's Moscow Mule.
Oh.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because just a little bit of lime juice in it and ginger ale. I've really enjoyed that. And who got me into it was old defenseman named Robin Regier. He came into Toronto a couple of years ago, and we went out, and he was drinking tequila and ginger ale, and it had a bite. Like, I'm not a tequila guy.
No.
And so I just said, okay, well, give me vodka ginger, while he was drinking tequila ginger, and I haven't gone back. I've really enjoyed it.
How many How many tequila gingers did Regier crush before mashing Alish Hemsky's face into the boards on a nightly basis back when he played?
We used to call that area to Robin's left the Tunnel of Doom because he was such a big man, like 6'3", 230, but he could really move. He was a great skater. And he used to give Hemsky a little extra room wide of him on his left side. And Hemsky every time would try and go, and Robin would grab him, and that poor kid would be horizontal in the glass. And Regier would just bury him. And I would laugh because I would talk to some of the Oilers. I was buddies with a couple of the Oilers, and they would be on the bench going, "Hammer, don't do it. Don't go down there." And sure enough, he'd go down there, and Robin would destroy him. And apparently it all stemmed back to like one scrum. Regier went into a scrum one time, and Hemsky like elbowed him in the face. I don't know if it was intentional or something, but it was almost like Regier had a vendetta against him. Like it was like 8 years after, he was still running him head first into the board, just burying him. It was hilarious.
I mean, of all the guys to accidentally elbow in a scrum as a young hockey player, he would be very, very far down my list of people I would want. There's
Sure.
There's guys considered tougher than Regier that I would want to elbow before Robin Regier. Yeah, the Tunnel of Doom. Man, he was tough, no question. Hey, buddy, this has been awesome chatting with you. I'm so glad you're doing well, and I love the idea of the three of us just going out to Oshawa one day and just getting a sleeve of tats all together.
You know, they have right now, you can order those shirts with like a fake sleeve on it.
Yes.
Like it looks like a tattoo.
It's a
I
pretty
might
cool look.
start there, see how it's like received, and then, you know, maybe we can do it. We'll go to like somebody's garage in Oshawa, and I'm sure there's plenty that we can figure out, fans of the show, all of that type of stuff.
Oh, Toolsy knows a guy for sure.
Here's the thing. In the future,
for sure.
In the future, young people will look at people with awe that aren't covered in tattoos and that survived 2020. They'll be like, "What? You're a 2020 survivor, and you don't have tattoos?"
Yeah, that's true.
It's rare.
See, you're lucky. So, Toolsy, you have no tattoos?
No, I have like tiny, a maple leaf, and then 3 letters on my arm.
Those letters are
Well, that's
D-A-N.
Spelt wrong. I have 13, but they're like small, same thing. Like, you know, I
Butterfly.
wish if I had a do-over, if I had a do-over, 10 of them would be gone. So, you know, I've made 10 mistakes in my career in the tattoo bench or whatever, the tattoo seat. Yes.
I love the idea.
I will actually, before I go. I'll tell you
I was just going to say, Noodles,
mistake.
before you tell us, I love the idea of you being on the cover of Inked one day and revealing all 13, but the headline just says, "Which of these 10 does Jamie regret?" Find out inside.
I like
right?
that.
That's the teaser.
Oh, my Lord.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say my first tattoo was actually my most regrettable one. I was 17 years old, had some vodka. I shouldn't admit that, underage, but we ended up in Calgary at the Smiling Buddha tattoo parlor, and I got a Pink Panther leaning on a hockey stick. And like kind of in my like underwear area, my left hip. It is to this day, it's the most embarrassing thing because as you've grown and it's kind of faded and it looks like a grandfather, like an old creepy like cat now. It's not even a tattoo. I don't even know what it is. It's so embarrassing. But I to this day, it was the first one I've got. And that was, what, 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. So you can imagine the type of shape it's in. My buddy got Tasmanian Devil, and my other buddy got Calvin and Hobbes.
The
all of us
Tasmanian
leaning on
Devil
hockey
was so
sticks.
popular at the time, Jamie, when we were growing
So
up. I remember so many
when
guys
we first got
that.
ours, I was 16, went with the buddies and to this guy's tattoo shop in the second floor of his house. He was bombed. He was like 60. He had a python in a big fish tank there. He did my maple leaf,
Yeah.
colored the middle in all red, did it freehand. It does not look like a maple leaf. My other buddy got a woody woodpecker, and the other guy got barbed wire.
Oh, barbed wire. See, Noodles, it could be barbed wire. That first one could have been barbed wire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Barbed wire, that's tough coming back from that one, at least.
He still got it. He still got it.
Well, let's hope he's got big guns to defend that barbed wire.
He does not.
We're going to let you go. When you come back, we have to have you on a little more regularly because I do want to get into, at some point, O-Dog's earring. He went full on Harrison Ford, and I just love it. I'm fascinated.
We have not brought that up on the show yet, but it may be a topic moving forward because it's kind of like, do you bring it up or do you not? Like, is he, I'm not sure how sensitive he is.
Well, maybe he wants to tell the story behind it.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, maybe he should tell the story, and then we can decide if we like it or not. We should do that.
There you go.
Noodles, you're the best. You can listen to Jamie and O-Dog and Brian Hayes every day 4 to 7 on TSN 1050. They put that into a fantastically listenable podcast, and Noodles is all over TSN. And you're going to have a new play-by-play guy at some point here, buddy. Maybe it could be Toolsy or me.
I know. That would be awesome. I think they would love us, the three of us, to call Ottawa Senator games. That would be great. We'd last maybe 2 or 3 episodes before I'm sure they would give us the tap. But you never know.
But the problem would be after the games more than anything, and whether they could find us to do the following game.
Yeah, they would. We wouldn't make the flights the next morning. I fly out at 7 a.m. the next morning.
Oof.
It wouldn't happen.
No, that would not be happening.
Not that close to Gatineau. All right, Noodles. You're the best, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
See you, buddy. Wow, that's great.
That was super fun.